All right, this week on the big show, voting is underway in several guilds and critics associations as the film awards season kicks into overdrive. The Critics' Choice and Black Reel Award nominations will be announced next week, as well as other local critics groups. We'll discuss some of our favorites, plus we'll recap the celebration of Black cinema and the Pinocchio junket, which I, Tim Gordon, was at both of these this week. We'll also review Pinocchio and something from Tiffany's. We'll have all that and more on episode 517. Keeping it real with Film Gordon, season 13 continues. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. I am Tim Gordon. That guy over there that's looking very stoic is Charles Kirkland Jr. Charles, what's going on, man?
In a week where we lost Kirstie Alley, the Brazilian national football team, things are going okay. I'm doing all right,
All right, man. You're doing all right, man. Well, that's good, man. As you can imagine, for people like us, man, this week has been very, very eventful. I was doing a ballot for one Critics Association group that I belong to. I've got to do a second one. So, hey, man, it's the job. We do it every year. This is 2022. So I want to say, Charles, this is the 20th anniversary of the Washington, D.C. Area Film Critics Association, which I have been honored to be the head of, from the founding president and the current president. So I'm excited about the announcements that we're going to have early next week for WAFCA, the Critics' Choice Association, which we both belong to, and we both belong to WAFCA as well here in D.C. I think the Critics' Choice Awards nominations will be the middle of next week. And then the Black Reel Awards, which, again, I have a hand in that one, will also have those announced next week. So the 23rd Black Reel Awards, 23rd Annual Black Reel Awards takes place Monday, February the 6th. So I am very excited about the group of films. And then, Charles, as I tell you every year, it starts what I call the slow death march to Bataan of because the Oscars this year are what, March the 12th or something like that. So like the second or third week in March. So starting this next week until the third week of March, it's almost like the World Cup, right? So you start off with this huge field of films, right? And then you'll start seeing the critics groups going, oh, this is the best film, and that's the best film. And then the Critics Association nominations will come out, and the Black Reel Award nominations will come in. And now that number of films is whittled down a little further, right? The Globe nominations will come out, the list is whittled down. And then once we get into next month and the Academy Award nominations are announced, that list gets whittled down even more. And then we're going to ride with this small amount of film. So it's a very interesting process that I have been blessed now to undergo for 3 decades, and I've watched it evolve. So it's always funny. I tell people the award season, I think we talk about it on our show a lot, Charles. The award season is 3 stages, right? So you've got the critics groups at the beginning, then you've got the CCAs and the Globes that happen in the second stage, and the Academy Awards are in the third stage. And, we'll hit these shows. I hit one, which we'll talk about momentarily earlier this week. So, yeah, Charles, so how you feeling about this, man? Because I know you got your seatbelt, you strapped in, man. You ready for award season?
Well, it seems like just yesterday that the Critics' Choice Awards announced their television nominees, which was pretty cool because Abbott Elementary came out on top with 6 nominations, which actually, I thought was kind of low for one show to only get to be the leader with only 6 nominations. But hey, that Better Call Saul came in with 5. So I'm happy for our friends over there at Abbott Elementary, Tinta Brunson and all her crew. So that's the first leg down for me. Next thing is going to be voting on the nominations for the CCA, like for the movie awards, like you said, and all that stuff is just you know, as we do this, I'm mystified about how people who just haven't been watching films can do this because I counted the other day. I must have gotten about 25 films, either in the mail or by screener copies. Everybody asking you to watch their film for FYC, and I'm like, you know what? If I haven't seen your film by now, you're not getting in. I'm sorry. And to that effect, all those people who ran "I Want to Dance with Somebody," I haven't seen the film, and we already put in our votes. So, sorry.
So I saw something in the trades the other day. I think the number was 289 films are eligible for Oscar consideration. So it's always funny to me, and I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, that when you people the award that people put the most merit in is the Academy Award, right? And the Academy Awards are the one voting guild or voting branch or organization that has no critics voting. Critics, ironically, are the only ones that have seen the lion's share. I'm not going to say I've seen 289 movies this year, but I have seen literally almost all of this year's contenders, whether they're docs or features. We've seen those. So I think to a larger degree, when you get to these critics associations and you especially something like what we're going to do next week with the Black Reel Awards, where we have different branches, but we are the only award show, if you really think about it, Charles, that includes critics in along with actors and directors and, other folks in professional categories. So I think the critic part for me has always been really, really important when you're doing these awards, because you got to have people who have seen the lion's share of these movies, not people who are having their gardener or their cousin or somebody close to them watching movies and let me know what you think when you check it out. No, we don't do any of that. So having said that, man, so yes, that was my early introduction and explanation of its award season, man. So we're off and running. And of course, next week when we're back, we'll have plenty to talk about, specifically with the CCAs, the Black Reel Awards, as well as with WAFCA, which is going to happen, the early part of next week. So I'm very excited about that. So Charles, as you can tell, and as you know, and I told you last week I was going to be out of here, was, in both Los Angeles and New York for, late last week or into the weekend in the middle of this week. And I just got back a couple of days ago. It was interesting, man. And I want to talk a little bit about what I experienced, because I was at the Celebration of Black Cinema on Monday night, the 5th annual. And again, much like Middleburg, you've heard me say I'm in the 10 Timers Club. I'm in the 5 Timers Club. So it was the 5th annual. I've been to every one of the Celebration of the Black Cinema. And I must admit this year that after having been there in last year, right, for the 4th annual, I think they did some tweaks to the room this year, and I think they did some tweaks with the programming of the presentation, not the programming, the presentation, Charles. And it was a much better show to sit there and experience this year. I know last year they may have had dinner, but this year they had 3 courses, which I thought was really interesting. So you had appetizers, dinner, and then there was dessert, which was really interesting because, again, at most award shows, you're not getting any food. I'm just telling you straight up. I mean, I've been to the CCA, back when it was the BFCA, when we've gone out to the Critics Association show, you got some hummus. That was probably about it. And they had a big thing of champagne on the table, but you weren't getting any food. So I was surprised when I saw they had a menu and you had several options.
You had chips and salsa on the table. You just had hummus.
You just had hummus. So this year it was, do you want the beef short ribs? Do you want the chicken? Do you want? I was like, pretty nice. So that part was nice. The show, which honored people like Barry Gordy, Angela Bassett, Michael B. Jordan, Gina Prince Bythewood, Jonathan Majors, Quinta Brunson. I'm trying to think. through some of the people that were honored this year. And I got a chance to meet a lot of them and have some conversations throughout the night, which I will talk a little bit about. Jane Kennedy was in the house, which was
What?
really exactly. She walked in the door. I went, "Is that Jane Kennedy?" And she saw me and came straight over to me, and I was like, "Hey, what's
Come
up, Jane?"
on.
I'll send you the picture later on. Bill Bellamy was the host. A guy who I've not known as in like he's my friend, but I have known of since I don't know 30 years, man. When I grew up in Jersey, I would see Bill at the club, and we talked a little bit about that. But it was a nice night, man. There was a lot of buzz in the room. I'm in the room, so not only am I a CCA member, but I'm a Black Real Award exec. Jeff Friday from ABFF was in the room, so you had him. So both of us are from the same hometown in Newark, New Jersey. Got a chance to talk to him about that. Talk to Bill Bellamy about his Newark roots. So Michael B. Jordan got up on stage. Brick City was represented. Charles, we was in the house. I met Quinta Brunson, who is very funny, but I just call her a fidget, man. She is just the shortest thing. I kept looking at her going, God, you're short. So we had a lot of fun. Quinta's mad cool. Got a chance to see Gina Prince Bythewood and Reggie Rock Bythewood. Engaged those guys again. Ran into David Oyelowo, who was there presenting. Danielle Deadweiler, who literally gave, for my money, the best acceptance speech of everybody. And she wasn't even in the room. She was the only person that they honored that did her presentation via video, because I think she was on the set of a film. But it was a nice night, man. I mean, Kid Cudi was there and was an honoree or a recipient, and gave an amazing speech. And when he got off stage, he forgot to to acknowledge his mama. He came back out there in the middle of the show, "Hey, mama." Brian Tyree Henry was in the house. He was an honoree. Nico Annan, if you watch P-Valley, he was there. So I mean, it was a really, really good crowd, and everybody talked about the feeling among all of the recipients that were in the room. When Berry Gordy received his honor, Suzanne DePass, who we honored early this year, I forget which award we gave her. I can't remember. It may have been the Oscar Michaud we gave her this year. But she came out to honor or to kind of introduce Berry Gordy, and they introduced a surprise guest, which happened to be Billy D. Williams, who rolled up in there. And, it was a nice night. So the Celebration of Black Cinema, which was recorded earlier this week in Los Angeles, will be on television in the month of February. Once I get that information, we will disseminate it. It is a really good show. I was in the house, and I'm glad I was there. So that was a lot of fun. So Charles, do you have any? Oh, and one more thing. Winning Time, the story of the Los Angeles Lakers, the star was honored. I want to say his name is Quincy Lester. The thing that I found to be real funny, Charles, is even before I said hi to him, he was standing behind me talking to somebody else. And if you watch the series, of course, he plays Magic Johnson. And in real life, he literally talks just like the character that he plays on Winning Time. And I said, Quincy, aren't you an actor? Don't you? Isn't there something you do to kind of distinguish between what you're doing for real versus what you're doing as an actor? It's the same voice. And he was like, well, yeah, but the only difference is that, I'm a little more eloquent than Magic. And I was like, okay. Okay, that's what we going with. Okay, so Charles,
when a guy gets into character, sometimes it's hard to drop that character. I still remember when what's his face was doing Rain Man at the Oscars. He was still Rain Man. Dustin Hoffman had
Dustin Hoffman,
immersed himself in that role, and he just couldn't let it go. So, maybe it's a melding. It was a melding of the real Quincy and the role that he was playing.
Yeah, man. But no,
Man,
all in all, man, it was a really, really fun night. A lot of people in the room. I tried to get as many pictures as I could. And then, just like the usual suspects, I woke up the next morning and I was on a plane headed to New York, literally hours later, right? So, and when I say hours later, show was over, Charles, like 10:30. I got back home packed, and it was midnight. I had to be up at 3, and I had to be on the plane at 6 to get to New York. So we get to New York, and it's the New York.
wait, time out.
Yes.
So all those people you saw at the celebration of Black cinema, how many did you lock in for the Black Real Awards presentation?
Yeah, well, we can't talk about that on the show,
Oh,
but
okay, all right.
the conversation is always ongoing, man. Right?
I just asked for numbers. I didn't say who.
Oh no, 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 no! I can't reveal numbers, man. It's just not just me and you talking. It's like a whole show. So again, 6 hours later, I'm on a plane. I'm headed to New York for the New York premiere of Pinocchio. Now, I'm just gonna be real honest with you, right? Because our show is called Keeping It Real, right? And I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, right? Charles, I've done a lot of junkets in my life, man. A lot, right? So I don't really get excited about the junket experience because pretty much the studios fly you in, they put you in a hotel, they give you a per diem budget, they put you on a bus or take you to see the film. Then you usually maybe there's some snacks or reception or something either afterwards or something. Then you come home, go to sleep. You get up early, the studio has more food for you, and then there's a press conference, and then they kicking you out the door, right? So that was my
Right.
expectation going in for Pinocchio. I'm like, it's Pinocchio, right? I haven't seen it yet, but it's Pinocchio. It's directed by Guillermo del Toro, so that's the only reason. And I was gonna do an interview with him, so I was excited about that. So I'm like, cool. Charles, I got to New York. And of course, I get there. Let's just say the traffic was so hellish that I got there an hour before I had to go over to the Museum of Modern Art, aka MoMA. So I get there an hour before. I'm starving. I haven't had anything to eat because I left LA so early. Nothing was open in the airport. I'm in the air. I'm in the Uber. So by the time I touch down and get to the hotel, it's 5 o'clock, right? So I'm starving. So I'm like, I'm going to my favorite pizza haunt, which I'm not going to say their name because they're not giving us a check. But I go to my favorite pizza haunt. I get a couple of slices of pizza. I come back and then find out that they're taking us to MoMA, which I've never been to before. So I was excited for that. I was like, oh, straight. We going to MoMA. We go to MoMA, and Charles, guess what's at MoMA, right? Now the premiere of the movie is there, but guess what else is at MoMA?
Food.
No, an exhibit of Guillermo del Toro's films, including Pinocchio, which I thought was mad cool. Now, here's the kicker, right? We hadn't seen the movie yet, right? Or at least I hadn't. So all that stuff, I just thought it was cute. I'm taking pictures of everything. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Okay. Oh, okay. I don't really understand until later on that these were partial pieces of the set that they used to make the movie. Now, we're going to talk about Pinocchio in a little bit. But Charles, 1,000-day shoot for Pinocchio. 1,000 days. Because it's stop action. Look, stop action. So every scene was like they were moving stuff at a scale of like 4 seconds at a time, if you can imagine. The film is like almost 2 hours long. So they had to build all the sets, build all the little miniature puppets, and then they use wires in order to move them around. And then in some cases, for some of the lead actors or lead characters, they had a screw that they would put in the air to change the eyes or to change their facial expressions. I was blown away. I was not prepared for any of that stuff, right? So I go in and I'd watched, I'm just being honest, they sent the screener of the movie so to us, Charles. And I watched maybe like 20 minutes of it, but I was like, I tapped out. I was like, yeah, I'll watch it when I'm in New York. And I missed the first 20 minutes on purpose because I'd seen that already. And by the time the film kicks into overdrive, I was like, okay, Guillermo, this is pretty good. We watched the movie, go ahead. I didn't review it. I just said we watched the movie. and there were tears on the row, a lot of crying in the theater. We go out, there's an after party. I'm so tired, I skip the after party. I go straight home and I pass out, right? Get up the next day, and we go back to MoMA for the press conference. Now, going back to MoMA before the press conference starts, Charles, they take everybody on a tour of the brand new exhibit. Because what we saw were like several pieces that were part of the exhibit, but they don't really tell you the story. We went to the exhibit, Charles, where they had 7 of the 60 sets. So almost like 10% of the sets that they used in the movie. And they had the video to show you the intricate process. They had the lead animator there kind of talking you through it. Charles, I was blown away. I had never seen like I know we watch animated films and people talk to you about the process of the drawing and the voice work that goes into it and how it takes so long to put that together. But to do Guillermo del Toro said that he had been trying to get this movie made for 15 years. And while he was making this movie, he was working on 2 other movies while he was working on this one. So he was doing 3 movies at one time. It was like, so needless to say, Tim Gordon, who is much jaded about junkets, that's the one junket I told the studio after on the way out, I was like, oh yeah, that movie's pretty special. That's a pretty special experience. So Pinocchio, which we will review in a couple of minutes, I think you can kind of guess where I'm going with this review. Wow. The process of them making Pinocchio and Pinocchio, Charles, you usually go to the press conference, right? And I'm sitting there dismissive at the press conference. Not for the Guillermo del Toro press conference. Charles, that press conference was so good. People were walking up when it was over going, y'all got a transcript of that? That was really good, man. You're going to send us something, right? Bruh, I'm telling you, as your friend, yeah, that was pretty amazing, man. So, Pinocchio, man, who knew? Who knew that you would have that it would affect you in that way? So that was a pretty good 5 days, Charles. That was pretty good 5 days, just running around from coast to coast, looking at the differences between Los Angeles and New York. Los Angeles, of course, nice and sunny. All the days we were out there in New York, gloomy and rainy at Central Park, and the hustle and bustle and the aggressiveness of New York. So that was a lot of fun, man. So, Charles, any questions on my 5-day jaunt?
I'm just surprised that you ducked out on an after party, but that sounds like you did put in a little bit of work. I'm surprised.
I tapped out on the after party. They had some food. I wasn't hungry. I don't eat that late. So if it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, man, I'm not eating anything. I'm going home and get some sleep, man. Y'all can miss me. Now, I will say I ran into Boots Riley, who, of course, being Boots, I can't even describe. He had a hat on where I guess it hit him right here, but it went way up here. It was like a super big hat, which I thought was funny. And I was like, Boots, man. I mean, of course you would wear that at the moment. That's what you do, Boots. So Boots is somebody, if you haven't watched the show, Sorry to Bother You came out, Charles, about 5 years ago. I had to moderate a panel with Boots and then interview Boots and then ran into Boots again a couple of months later that year at the CCA Awards, where he was dressed like Hugh Hefner back in the day, wearing like a lounge coat and some pajamas and some house shoes. That's Boots Riley, man. That's what he does, man. So Boots is always making a statement with fashion. So I was like, Boots, I just got to get a picture with you, man, because people just will not believe the stuff you put on. So, he threw up 2, stood next to me. I was like, what's up? Who else did I see at the after party? What is the actor's name? Oh, the La Bamba guy. Who's the actor that played La Bamba?
Lou Diamond Phillips.
Lou Diamond Phillips was at the after party. I was like, so I always laugh when I get into these events, Charles, because what'll happen is I'll see people and the name never registers, right? It'll always be Hey, ain't that the La Bamba dude? except when it was, is that Jane Kennedy?
Mm.
Yeah. So yes, Charles. So I tapped out of that, but yeah, man. So that was the week that was. And then remember next week, since Charles Kirkland is not doing the next junket opportunity, the recruit is next week. So I've been watching the recruit now, getting ready for everybody's flying into DC next week, Charles. To hang out.
I'm doing the show of the recruit. I'm not doing the junket because it's during the day. But you know,
Look, I got you. You know, and by the way, we're talking in code. I've let them know, Charles, that we're gonna be doing a bunch of these next year. So we getting ready to ramp it back up because we need these interviews. And by the way, if you check later on our page, my conversation, albeit brief, because if you're doing television, you get about 3-4 minutes, man. With Guillermo del Toro, I will post that a little later on, as well as my review that from Around Town Best Bets. They sent me the link today. Tim, your review of The Whale is up. I was like, nice. So just shows you I'm doing some things out in these streets, man. You know, I sit back, I let Charles try to be the man. When Charles decided he wouldn't be the man, I stepped back into the booth, put on my superhero costume, and I get out there and I'm Tim Gordon again. Now, it's a difference because I'm Film Gordon here. But when they need me to be Tim Gordon, I can be Tim Gordon. How's that, Charles?
All right. So which one is the super ego? Is it Film Gordon that's a Superman, or is it Tim Gordon that's Superman?
Well, it's actually pretty much, I said that backwards. I'm always Tim Gordon, but when you need me to be Film Gordon, thank you, Charles, for correcting that. So Tim Gordon is the regular guy. That's me with the glasses on. When I step in the booth and become Film Gordon, I still got on glasses, but it's a different persona. Charles has heard me. I've been doing this. Look, they tease me about it all the time, but it's true. So if you put in a certain amount of time, you have the right. That's why I tell people all the time when you meet senior citizens and they say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Hey, man, you done lived long enough. You got the right to do you. I've been in this game for a minute. I got the right to flow the way I flow. So not apologizing. It's just truth. So there you go, Charles. So any questions, man, before we pivot and start reviewing some movies?
Nope.
Hey, you ain't got nothing, Charles? Hey.
Did you get pancakes when you were in California? Did you go to the Grove?
Come on, man. I did something a little different this time, which I'm gonna have to talk to you off air. Because you know you're hitting the same spots over and over. I was just out there several weeks ago when we did Glass Onion premiere. I was just out there, so I did something different. I wanted, ironically, to see some different neighborhoods and to eat in some different spots. And we spent a lot. We weren't in the same vicinity this time, but we only ate in our favorite spot once, where you're asking about the pancakes. And to answer your question, yes, we did. But we also spent some time over at the farmer's market. And let's just say, man, I'm just going to, again, keep it at 100. It's hard to find bad food when you're in Los Angeles, man. Everything is it just explodes in your mouth, man. Y'all food game is on point. And the reason why I say that, because when I came to New York, it is not on point. New York's food is not like as they said on Pusha T. Yesterday's price is not today's price. when it comes to New York food versus LA food. So yeah, that was interesting. But I'll let you know because, like I said, we found a couple of new spots that we tried out.
The comments made here are the viewpoints of Tim Gordon and not a
representative. You notice I'm not giving out any spots. I'm just telling you we found new spots because you gotta keep it fresh, man. You can't keep eating at the same spot, even though the spot I took Charles to, let's just say we went in for a full stack and left a pancake and a half on the table, man. It's just too much, bro. You can't do it. It's too much, man. Charles ate you had a short stack. Did you ate the whole thing, right?
I ate the whole thing and was miserable.
I bet
I
you
was
were.
I was glad we had that walk back to the hotel room because I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Bruh, you can't do it, man. There were several times this weekend where I just had to push back and go, hey, I'm done, bro. I can't. You're not gonna have me in misery or having me taking premature naps because I got my body is like, we're not doing this. We're gonna shut down. We got to digest all this. Like, no. So needless to say, man, let us keep the show moving because we get into food talk and all this other stuff. Charles, so pretty much, man, we talked earlier at the start of the show about all these Critics Association awards. Are there some films, like I've been telling you all year, I'm not overly excited about any of the movies that have come out this year. I think we have a lot of good films this year. I don't think there are a lot of great films in 2022 that have been released. Now, they're really good performances that I like, that in a lot of instances supersede the films. And a classic example is Brendan Fraser in The Whale. I think that's a tremendous performance. Or Kate Blanchett in Tar, I think is a tremendous performance. What is her name? Viola Davis in The Woman King, I think is a tremendous performance, as well as Danielle Deadwyler in Till. So I can name films that I think there are tremendous performances, but not a lot of films that I go, you know what, Charles? That's a really good film. What about you?
You know, I was telling someone the other day, they were saying, I usually don't like the films that Oscar selects as the best film of the year because there's so much of the prestige film that I don't really enjoy those artsy films. I said, well, this year may be your year because I think we're going to have a mainstream film that's actually going to come out on top as the best film. And yeah, that doesn't happen very often, and it is like a really slow year. I think the pandemic, this is the year that the pandemic influenced cinema the most. Right. And so after this year, we may have some more artistic quality films, but this year, no, everything is, the playing field is really kind of level. And so I'm sure as if we go through and we see all these awards organizations of picking films, there's going to be a lot of diversity in winners, I think, this year. I don't think there's one film that everybody's like, oh yeah, that's the one. But everybody has their own opinion, I think, of what's going to be the best.
Well, let me give you an example, man. I had a conversation during lunch on Wednesday in New York, and me, a colleague of ours that you know really well in DC, a gentleman from Houston, and a couple of critics from Las Vegas. We were all sitting at a round table having lunch and talking about, having the conversation we're having right now. What films do you guys think? So the guy pulls up, I guess either Gold Derby or Variety or something. And we're going through the list. So he's reading the top 5 films and then like films 6 through 10 and then 11 through 15. And I'm telling you, Charles, the one movie that was a lightning rod where we were screaming at each other was Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, right? So they were like, and it was 5 of us, and 3 of us were like, man, that film is, I don't get it. I don't understand what the buzz is. And the other 2 people were like, this film is brilliant. And I was like, brilliant? What are you talking about? So so we were going back and forth, and it was so heated. Of course, we're at a studio junket, which I'm not naming, but Charles knows with who we were with. And they were like, you guys talking about our film? And I was like, nah, not really. But we are debating some films. Because the other thing that I think just blew me away, Charles, was this love that people had for Elvis. And I was like, Elvis, Best Picture. Elvis. So yeah, man. So like I said, man, as Charles, give out the disclaimer again, because
the comments made on this show are solely the ones of us two. Is not everybody,
right? But I'm just saying. So again, I think, and we in the critic community have been talking for months, at least 6 to 7, about what we saw coming down the pike. And the quality of films, which are very much different than in years past. I would even go back to say the last 5 years, if we're looking at films, Charles, we are settling in with certain films, man. But you look back, and I'm not going to start naming movies, but if I gave you some hints, you know what I'm talking about. There's some movies that were winning major awards in the last several years that you look back now and go, yeah, the movies weren't pretty good. I don't know, man. Again, I'm a film snob and a purist, right? And to your point earlier about a mainstream film, there are two that I think really have a shot to be nominated or to make the cut for the top 10 films. The first one's going to be Top Gun Maverick. I'm telling you that now. I've seen that movie 3 times, and every time I look at it, it was funny because I remember the original film in 1986, right? And you got to give Tom Cruise and that crew that made Top Gun Maverick a lot of credit, because that movie, remember, Charles, was supposed to initially come out in like 2019. Then it got pushed back, and then it got pushed back again, right? So you're thinking, oh man, this film is going to be some trash. And I remember going to the screening. We were all at the screening, and I'm sitting there, and the actual opening of the film, when I talk about the opening, like the credit sequence, literally is the exact same credit sequence from the 1986 film. The only thing they changed was the title and the names, but they kept all the footage the exact same, right? The music, everything is the same. And I'm going, this is weird.
To the point where they had Don Simpson's name, who's been dead for a long time. They put him in that same montage was in the same in the film.
So I'm starting out, Charles, and I'm going, that's not a good sign. And then the story starts to evolve, right? And like by the time we get halfway in the movie, I was like, oh, this is really good, man. This is very entertaining. Now, let's be brutally honest, Charles. Is it a really great film? Not really. It's enjoyable. It's fun. It's got all the stuff. It's like a popcorn movie. But the only reason why I think it's getting the acclaim, because it is well done, Tom Cruise, and they were able to really extend the story in a way that made a lot of sense. The other film that I think is getting a lot of love, that's mainstream, is the film Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Again, I think that it exceeds the first film. I think that the star power is there. I think that the metaphor with Glass Onion, and as the story, as you peel the onion layers back, as the story gets more intricate. The thing about both those films, Charles, that stands out in a year where you've got all these heavy, like awards contenders, and to put Top Gun Maverick and Glass Onion and Knives Out mystery, they stand out immediately because they're so different. Like two of these things are not like the other. Two of these things are not the same. So I believe that in a year, to your point, Charles, where it's very, the playing field is very even and there's nothing really way up here. I think those two films have a shot. And then I hate to say it, Elvis might have a shot looking at that, as well as Everything Everywhere All at Once, which wouldn't be my pick, but I could see it's a pick that a lot of people are looking at. But it's a very interesting year, Charles. It really is. I'm hoping something like The Woman King can actually push through. I don't know if there's enough support for Till. I know people are pushing for Tar with Kate Blanchett. I know that there's a lot of support for The Banshees of Inisherin, which I think is a really, really good film. What about you, Charles?
For the most part, I think most of people are thinking Tar as the performance of Cate Blanchett. I don't think anyone is really thinking that film is, best film category. But Elvis just was a dark film for me, and I really didn't enjoy it. I'm not a big Elvis fan in the first place, but I do recognize that there are a lot of Elvis fans out there. And this could be like Ray was for Jamie Foxx. This could be one of those performances that people are swayed by. I don't see it. I mean, I think the soundtrack is better than the movie. But again, we're just going. I think of all the films, the most artsy film, the most outlandishly different film is Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it would get my vote because I think I'm one of those ones that would think this is like a masterpiece of work that they put it together making this film. Because it's just so different from any story that we've ever seen before on the screen. And so I kind of enjoy that film above all the others. And I understand how good Top Gun is. And Glass Onion, it moved me. I thought it was, and I had to watch it again. I think I appreciate the first Glass Onion. I mean, the first Knives Out movie more than the second, as far as being a mystery. When you get into this film, the second one, it's not as much of a mystery. The mystery doesn't generate the story and doesn't resolve the story in the end like the first film did. And so, because I'm a big Agatha Christie mystery type fan, it kind of left me different than the first one did. So there's a lot of pluses and minuses, but the whole point of it is there's nothing out there that's really rocking my boat that I'm like on top of the world saying you got to see this movie. And the one film that I did, there's no way that it would be even considered. We talked about it last week, which was Violent Night. There's no way that's going to be considered at all for anything, and nor should it be. But it's just so much fun. And like I said, there's nothing out there where I'm like jumping up and down saying, "Oh, this is the one, this is the one, this is the one."
No,
So
their performances we like, but you're right. There's no film, so I'm going to.
Even to that point, I think there's so many really good performances still. So I don't think there's one performance out there where I'm saying, "Oh, this is the one, this is the one." And we talk about Kate Blanchett, you talk about Viola Davis. There's a lot of women in the category who I think are pretty much equal, and so it's kind of, there's not even an adult, a male performance that I would say, yeah, this is the one. Everything is just everything this year. It's just really a really different year. It's a really different year.
All right, man. Well, we're gonna pivot, man, and go and review these movies. And this first one is not gonna take a lot of time, man. And of course, that film, of course, is Something from Tiffany's, which I actually got a chance to see because I screened it. Charles, you know how we watch these movies. I'm not even going into that. So I watched Something from Tiffany's and I looked today. I was like, oh, it's coming out. So a woman gets upended when an engagement ring that was for someone else leads her to the person she's meant to be with. So think serendipity, just another crazy kind of light holiday-esque movie that stars Zoe Deutch, D-E-U-T-C, Dutch, Zoe Dutch, Kendrick Sampson from Insecure fame, Shay Mitchell, Ray Nicholson, Leah Jeffries, and the former Batwoman, Javicia Leslie. Dang, I never learned how to pronounce the woman's name. I love this show. Huh?
It's Javicia Leslie. She's a homegirl.
Yeah.
Homegirl. DC.
Well, Javicia Leslie is starring in this film, and pretty much, Charles, the title and the description says the film focuses on two couples who, at the onset of the film, two men go into Tiffany's. One guy is buying a ring to propose to his girlfriend. The second guy doesn't have that kind of income. He buys some earrings. He steps out in the streets, inadvertently gets hit by a car. The guy who bought the ring puts his Tiffany bag down on the ground to help said guy out. He gets up, he grabs the wrong bag, and that's our movie. And then from there, it's character, it's comedy, it's romance, it's epiphanies, it's a bunch of stuff. But at the end of the film, I always tell people who don't study movies, right? Every movie, television show is a 3-arc, right? In the first arc, we learn the people. They introduce us to the people, right? The second act, we learn, or in the first act, we may meet the people and then encounter the problem, right? The second act kind of tells us, oh man, how do we fix this? And by the time we get to the third act, everybody's happy. I call it the Love Boat thing, the Love Boat treatment. That's the first time when I was a kid, I used to see the three-act arc structure all the time and be like, oh, okay. So this film works by the time you get to the third act. There's some stuff in there. There's some holes that don't, some things that don't hold up. It's a holiday film. Did you see this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So by the time I got to the end, I give it a C plus. I thought it was cute. No, I mean seriously. If you grade the movie, was it entertaining? Yes. Did it fill the time and space in my head for about an hour and a half? Sure, it did. Was it a great movie? Not really. Charles, you give me your takeoff on this movie.
Dude, you know how close a C plus is to a B? What were you thinking?
Okay, so should it have been a C?
The best I can do is a C minus on this movie. The premise is really interesting. Okay, where you get, but the resolution, I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? My man is getting ready to propose to his girl. I can't talk anymore about it because it's the way they go, the direction they go in this film. I'm like, that is just ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous film I've seen in quite some time. Yeah, it's entertaining, it's cute, it's semi-romantic. For some people, it's a terrible film in this film. But I just couldn't get behind this film. It was, like you said, it was cute. It was so hallmarky, and I just was like, I can't stand this. The best I can get. And the whole time, I'm looking at the dude in the film. I'm like, in that prison bay, in that guy, he looks like the dude that had that mugshot and everybody fell in love with. I was like, oh my God, this movie. So the best I can give it is a C minus. And if you really feel like you're led to watch this film, I think you need to question what you're doing with your life. There's a whole bunch of. Please don't pay for this movie. Please don't pay to see this movie. See it on Hallmark. It'll be on there. Lifetime Movie Network. It's coming in a couple of weeks. Give it some time.
The movie's on Amazon Prime. Charles is crushing it, man. So okay, I mean, I got you, man. So I gave it a C plus. Charles goes a C minus.
Some people pay for Amazon Prime. Don't buy Amazon Prime to get this movie. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No. Nobody's gonna do that, man. So let's move on to from one extreme to the other. And of course, that's Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which we talked about earlier, or simply known as Pinocchio. Stop motion animated musical fantasy, directed by Del Toro as well as Mark Gustafson in his feature directorial debut. Of course, Guillermo del Toro and Patrick Mahale wrote the screenplay. Now, this is based on the design from the 2002 edition of the 1883 Italian novel, which, Charles, I will add, this film is closer to the original novel instead of these polished Disney versions of Pinocchio we've been watching for years. So just take that into account. It reimagines the story of 1930s fascist Italy as a story of love and disobedience as Pinocchio struggles to live up to his father Geppetto's expectations, learning the true meaning of life. And it features the voice work of Ewan McGregor, John Turturro, Ron Perlman, Finn Wolfhard, Kate Blanchett, Tim Blake Nelson, Christoph Waltz, and Tilda Swinton, among others, right? And let me just cut to the chase, man. You heard me tell you all of the stuff behind the scenes about the making of the movie, going down to see the sets, looking at what the work that the animators were doing. And let me tell you something, Charles. We watch a lot of animated films, right? And a lot of times we see these animated films and, like I think Strange World or the Secret Life of DC's Secret Life of Pets and whatever it was, Super Pets. And, all of these films look good and usually they go for more of a comedic edge. Bruh, this movie's dark. And it's so dark that even though it's an animated film, do not take small children to see Pinocchio. Because as the director himself said, the film is called Pinocchio, but it literally is Geppetto. because it's really a relationship through the point of view of the father who is grief-stricken at the loss of his human child, builds this replacement puppet who is imbued with powers that you'll see in the film. And the story of not that he finds love or discovers love, but he learns to recognize love. And the screenplay is absolutely amazing, but it's Guillermo del Toro, who has done movies like what was the one last year he did with Bradley Cooper?
Oh, I was going to say Pan's Labyrinth and
Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water. I mean, the one last year where the one about them in the circus, the whole God, I can't remember the name.
Because it's a remake, and I can't remember the name.
Yeah. But I'm saying he is a really good filmmaker. This is his 12th movie. Del Toro is pretty amazing, man. So this movie here, man, highly emotional story. And by the time you get to the third act, man, there were a lot of tears, bro. There was a lot of tears. They didn't get me because, Tim is hard, right? We laugh, man, because, there have been times that I have cried in a movie. But, man, it's almost like Steven Spielberg, which is why I hate his movies, man. Like, because he will force a tear out of you. But this movie, man, was real close. And it's a father-son tale, man, at the end where, I'm not going to give you the last line, but the last lines of the film, I was like, hey, man. Now also, Charles, understand that the basis of the film is the director talking about how he didn't really have a strong relationship with his father, and he channeled a lot of that into the film. Powerful stuff, man. Pinocchio, I believe, watch this. I do have a vote in my guilds, but I don't have an Oscar vote. I think Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is going to win Best Animated Film this year. I'm not just saying that because I just saw it earlier this week. Looking at the field, what's going to beat it? What is going to beat it, Charles? It's really good, man. Charles, you didn't get a chance to see it yet, right?
I have what? Look, they send me screeners. I don't have to.
So what did you think about the film?
I agree wholeheartedly. One of my things was we just had a Disney movie, Pinocchio, come out like 3 months ago with Tom Hanks as Geppetto, right? And so everybody thinks about the light and breezy and sing-songy and how nice Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket, all that stuff. This is not that film. This is not that story. Don't get yourself twisted. This is Guillermo del Toro, one of the darkest and most entertaining directors that I know of. And when I said he's doing a animated film, yeah, this thing is animated, but it is so realistic in some ways that the cartoon this is not a cartoon. This, like you said before, this is not one of those delightful little tales that you're used to. This is a dark story, and at times it's, for me, I was like, wow, this is really deep. And so, but the resolution is great. I love the film. I think Del Toro is becoming one of my favorite directors, and all the things he does. I was fully behind The Shape of Water. What was it? Boardwalk?
Nightmare Alley. That was the name of the film last year. Nightmare Alley.
I was not a big fan of Nightmare Alley. I think the original was better than what he did, but he doesn't miss very often. He doesn't miss with this one. This is a very good movie. Yeah, the field for animation is small. I remember you talking a couple weeks ago about Strange World and how great this was. This is better than Strange World. It's darker than Strange World. It's like night and day of Strange World. So, but yeah, excellent movie. I think Del Toro is at the top of his game with an animated feature that took him 3 years to make. So yeah, this is
well. The other thing is he talked about initially he was trying to get beck to do the music, right? And he said, it's hard when you try to hire a rock star because those guys are busy, right? Right. And he said they couldn't find a window of availability. He said, but who was available? Me. So Guillermo del Toro wrote the songs that are in the movie. I was like, wow. So, hey man, Pinocchio, he shared that in the canon of films, there are several films that exist that supersede ethnicity, supersede time period. He talked about Pinocchio. He talked about God, it's in the transcript, Charles, because he named like 5 movies that are like movies that can you anybody can make these movies and bring something to them and sort of change stuff around. And I thought that his interpretation or reinterpretation of this story is just amazing. And if he happens to win again, I will be happy for Guillermo del Toro. As I told you guys, look for the interview that I'm going to post very shortly of my interview with him. So yeah, Charles. So that's what I got, man. Oh, and by the way, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is playing on Netflix right now. So if you want to check out what Charles and I are talking about, you can see the mastery for yourself. So it's pretty good, man. So that's all I got, Charles. So we got about a minute left. You got anything else? Because you'll always call me after the show and be like, man, I forgot to mention blah, blah, blah. Is there anything you forgot to
I
mention?
just want to point out, like you said, this is not really a reimagining of the Pinocchio tale that Del Toro does. His what he's created is really closer to what the real story, the original story was, and the Disney version is like the reimagining. It's just that we've been used to the light Pinocchio than the darker one. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we got that point across.
Oh, and I gave Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio an A. What about you, Charles?
B plus.
B plus. All right, so there you go, man. So as I said, it's playing on Netflix right now, and we're getting ready to get out of here, man. Because Charles has got ballots to turn in. I've got 2 to turn in tonight. So do you, Charles. You got 2 to turn in. So you have 2.
No, stop reminding.
Okay, look, you act like you had a blank look. Like yes, you have 2 ballots to turn in, so we need to get to it. But as we tell you guys in closing every week, please see something good at the movies. If I were you, I would take Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio over something from Tiffany's. That's just me. Charles might disagree with me, but I would do that.
And Over the Whale too.
Wow. So as I said, man, you guys enjoy your weekend. We will see you guys on the other side. 5:17, Charles. Look, clapboard. That's a wrap. You guys take care, man. We'll talk to you guys next weekend, man. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.